You don't need first world infrastructure. It's just that the immigrants who came were disliked and even more talked shot about and frowned upon when they came in. They were expressive in their kindness that they actually listened. So once the Indian came in, he started snot rocketing and spitting, clearing out his throat and his other hygienic problems. He was frowned upon, and now these people are all over the place saying, we're a first world country, we don't like it. And that is the whole mindset. Now, every other new infrastructure and scientific backing that these people have come across of is now related to as the disgusting people that these people are known for, their snot rocket and smelly pheromone sweat and all these other stuff, that they have decided that anything that comes after must have come from the white American or the white European descendant, because we're the ones who complain and they listen to it. So now that they're continuously listening to it, they're able to continue to reap what they sow, if I may sow. Additionally, if you commit to crime, then it's incarceration that he is not going to let you achieve your goals, and she isn't as well, because she also agrees that you are this frowned upon, disliked being from wherever country that you came from, that we saw, and the first world country that they are has the history of seeing what it is that they don't like, and they have changed it for the better or the worse. Now, the better or the worse here could mean anything, and it could also mean that your money, being that you're the exemplified homeless person or the less poverty or lower middle class or lower class, is much better position that white people have this sort of take that you don't, and they influence it to Hispanics, Indians, Chinese, and blacks and other white people, so that they have a party whose interest matches their own. Now, this could go on for days and days, because there's so many people who are educated throughout the world, including the new term Pajeet, which is now not a racist term, but it is a social rhetorical term to help the Pajeets, because one, the immigrants who are frowned upon are saying that we don't really need, or they're not really saying is actually true, to have this belief that we are disliked because we came and this is what we are believing that is currently accepted. So you can still live life and eat, cook, and have shelter, living a life that is so Pajeet, because if you end up having to agree with and listening to these white Europeans for saying that you smell like a Pajeet, you think like a Pajeet, you eat like a Pajeet, you're disgusting, you're smelly, you're sloppy, then the whole first world generation context to what it is that is beautiful, clean, and acceptable is now white. So you see that all over the place, where all these Asian women and Indian women and black women and Hispanic women prefer the white European descent man over their own nationality man, because they've all decided to frown upon and dislike the whole immigrant who's come from the nation, and that's simply a dislike and a frown. So they listen for the accepted visa application interviews that they had. And this is a big problem today, because now that the 252 million, or such a small population, now that such a small population runs the world with their United States military and nukes, having these other accepted, discriminated people who have complained about their positions and lack of, to be in the military position as well, to have this representation of the entire gene that you have thanks to all these scientific studies, is now going to realize that this sort of Pajeet mindset was invented because the word gaslighting didn't work on Indians. So Indians are still talking about how white people aren't shit because they have all their written ancient texts regarding to hygiene. And they also have their electronic interception and government officials, CIA, FBI, to investigate any America's interest that is conflicting with their own. And this is how they intercept all the time, which is possibly happening to me all the time, because I'm always telling these white people in the government that they ain't shit. You could do the same thing. Just tell them whatever white thing that they usually do, like a white guy driving down the road and he looks at you and he shakes his head no or something. Isn't what's happening? You could tell them that's discrimination, and he's going to come back and say, no, that's America's interest. And this is how I know all my facts and backings of my Pajeet understanding is him saying dislike and frown, that we're listening. So sure, it's not a problem. But he comes around and says, oh, we took your women. We're so much better. We have better genes, better minds. And his whole mindset isn't going to be changed, because it's not going to spread and it's going to conflict with America's white interests. And women all around the place, including minority, young and old, have the same mindset that they're not going to get the money or the influence or the whole projection of making this whole world a better place unless they listen to white people, and white women are also demonstrating that they're bigger, stronger, faster, more competitive. And this is why China is pretty good. You can see this in the chapal, the Indian chapal that Prada made. Prada's like, we stole it, what are you gonna do about it? But if you commit to crime, it's like it's incarceration, and then you're still not gonna get some. And specifically, there's not a word that describes what white people do to them, because it is still beneficial to them and they can still reap what they sow. But once it all ends and there's no more intricate ideas coming out to the public so that white people can make some money off of, they're going to come up with a word in Latin and say, hey, there's nothing coming out anymore, so we also feel that. So what we're going to do is make a word that gets us get some for nothing coming out. And that's what white people are literally going to do. So how can you put this into context? The Pajeet sponsorship that we're getting, that we're Pajeets all around the place, is literally having people think about why we're called Pajeet. And the Pajeet thing is that these immigrants came and they were frowned upon for their hygienic problems, that they still cleaned their nose on the street and showered and bathed but didn't put deodorant. And the pheromones from the deodorant, or the pheromones from the sweat, was still decent enough. It just wasn't listened to. And today it's being talked about how Pajeets still commit to this, because we know if white people are able to convince people that this is the best way, then they're gonna start saying that we are the best genes, we're the ones who take the improvement, she wants to get some. And it's all backed by the US military and communist invasion protocols and nuclear deterrence and things like that. So you won't be able to nuclear deterrent them, or you won't even be able to create propaganda to help defend your own men and women in your own nation, because he's going to come and use the internet that he invented and say this is not America's interest and sanction you. So what can you do about it? You basically just sit there and study and know all this information, so that when you're at the workplace, some white guy or white girl doesn't come across and starts muttering some rhetoric or colloquialism or some banter or some jargon talking about how he thinks that this guy is an immigrant, or he thinks that she thinks that this guy is no good for the company. So you can just know all these things and study at the same time, but except I'm literally telling you, instead of you waiting for some other sort of electronic deception to tell you. And that other sort of electronic deception is respect of governments. And these people understand respect, but we all know white people don't respect, otherwise they won't be able to take intellectual property and steal and make money off of it. Otherwise, they wouldn't be able to justify colonization and justifying that they could beat you up to take something, when in reality they can't. I've personally seen many fights. I was a bully too. And now I'm stuck here trying to get a job, but I come across as this energy who might be murderous and things like that. So if you like this video, hit the like and subscribe, and check out my publication. I do talk about what it is you could do. And even though that's not my stereotype, but whatever, you can see it in my publication. Thanks so much. There's also the addition of telling women, specifically themselves, that you can just do whatever you want, come and get some from me, because we'll let you. But he ends up still hitting her at the end of the day, and there's divorce, things like that, and people talking about who actually have a relationship with these white men, things like that. So there's things that you could think about now that you are being told this information, and it's not being contained, because now that I'm telling you, you actually know someone was telling you. And what's the worst that could happen? Some white guy's gonna come and shoot me with a gun. I mean, that's not a big deal, because I'm still going to be able to achieve my goals. It's not like he's going to find me. He's probably going to find me or something like that, because I'm talking shit about him. What's he going to do about it? I mean, he's got this whole Pajeet sponsorship. He's sponsoring me because I'm a Pajeet, and I know that he's not going to be able to get some, because he's the one who's saying that white is the best way. White is the way to go. So what's he going to do about it? So in conclusion, we immigrants, or whoever our predecessors are in this country that have been documented, literally said, just because you're literally saying you're a first world country and you're saying that we stink and things like that, and blah blah blah, and other white summaries of what I'm saying, so make it into a white perspective. Interesting information that we can rebuttal it. Because we're frowned upon and disliked, but our hygienic properties are still being hygienic, we don't need it. And this is a whole white agenda that you're saying that you could do that. So we could go to wherever we're from and still achieve gold, sex, money, and food and shelter, and still be better than you, and have your whole race and agenda, believing that you can whitewash it and do it better than you and have your military back your interests in your whitewashing of Indian culture so that you can make the money and tell everyone in the world that you have this expensive car when it's just a car that moves, and you have an expensive house when it's just a house that shelters you. You have this nice society where predominantly you have this expense ratio so that most people in the world don't commit the crime to you. So what the immigrants are saying is we don't really need to have this sort of mindset where we are being told that this first world agenda that you have convinced everyone who is listening to spread abroad the world that you could do this is irrelevant because we don't need it. It's basically like Pajeets are being branded Pajeet because he's telling everyone else that white people just made up this shit and stole it from Indians themselves, from the Indian hygienics, because he was a barbarian and a pirate.